So what I do, what I learned to do a long time ago, is to menu plan. And even if it wasn't a precise menu plan of knowing what I'm making on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, not like that, but having a general idea of here's 10 recipes I'm going to make in the next couple weeks, and having those ingredients on hand. So in the morning, I could just say, all right, today we're going to have sloppy joes for supper. And that's my plan. And that takes stress off the day. First of all, knowing what we're making, and then having the ingredients on hand, because I took that grocery list or that ingredient list with me to the grocery store and have the ingredients on hand. Those two things, having a menu plan and then choosing the days that I'm going to make those menu and having the ingredients on hand through a grocery list and planning what I'm getting at the store were huge. As far as how far ahead of time do I make the food, depends on the recipe. I spent some time looking in my shelves, and I found some of my plans, and I will just show you real quick here. This folder was made because it was bursting out of this folder. And these are things I put together over many years. In fact, I saw one recipe that had a timestamp on it from the internet. Like, I printed it off from the internet, and it said February 18th, 1999. That's how old some of these recipes are in this book folder. What I then would make tabs. Can you see the tab? Yeah, okay, just your standard office tabs. This whole thing needs a little bit organization. And so there's a tab here for breakfast, and it has like probably 10 pages of breakfast recipes. Some of them were obviously like, here's a week's worth, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday kind of a thing, and maybe it wasn't. We didn't make the Monday recipe on the Monday, but there's a plan for the week and having those ingredients on hand. I also write. Here's one where I have written all over. I don't know if you can see that. Written all over. It's in a page protector, and I've written. See, this one says, this size will feed Bridget and Brooke for 2 days. Okay, that's obviously a Dutch puff recipe that they couldn't have the dairy for the big one. So I would make one with dairy-free milk for them. And that, okay, and then here's an addition, what to make, or what ingredient size, what the amount of ingredients, sorry, I'm not talking very well, the amount of ingredients for an 11 by 15 pan, because I had one at that time. I remember it was very nice, and it broke. It was a ceramic pan. Here's another one that's written all over. I do that with my recipe books too. So if you have a recipe that you like to make, write on it, write what pan you use, write how long it takes to make it, and how long it bakes in your oven. Sometimes a recipe says, that happened to us the other day, I had a recipe that said it was going to take an hour, and I thought, I think that recipe bakes in 45 minutes. So I set the timer for 45 minutes. Sure enough, it was done. You can double check that kind of thing with the recipes you're making, and write in your books. They're yours. Write in your recipe books. If you print something off of the internet, write on it. If someone gives you a recipe card, write on it your modifications that fit your life. And as far as knowing how much time ahead, write that down too. So if you think, what I preferred to do when I had a lot of children at home, and we were eating lunch all together, and I was feeding a bunch of little children, elementary age children, I would prep that in the morning. I would at least know what we're having for lunch. And I loved to do that in the crock pot. Just a small size crock pot, enough that was just gonna feed us for lunch, however many there were. Dump it in, like I'm talking simple crock pot recipe. dump it in, and then I don't have to think about it till it's lunchtime. And then we have that for lunch. Supper time, I have always liked to have an hour and a half for that meal time prepping, and that doesn't mean that I am meal prepping and I'm chopping and whatever for an hour and a half. No, it's more of a, I am now going to work in the kitchen for an hour and a half, and I am making these recipes for supper. And it might be something really simple, but I've allowed myself that time to putter in the kitchen. It might be cleaning. I like to set up the coffee pot. In an ideal world, I like to set up the coffee pot for the next morning at supper time. I like to chat with people as they come through the kitchen, you know, doing their chores and whatnot. I like to it's kind of a meditative thing. And then even when the little children were there, it was fun to do things with them. Have that time, not be pressed, you know, like, oh, we need to have supper on the table in half an hour. It's nice to have that time to just relax and have a fun experience with the children who are helping. And then also allowing that much time gives you freedom to go check on someone who's maybe still doing their chores, break up a squabble. If you're still nursing a baby, sit down and feed the baby. You know, it gives you freedom to do those things without, you know, a time crunch. So I really think if you know, that was a big problem with us with the farm life. I never knew when supper was going to be. I preferred it to be at 6 o'clock every night. Some people liked it earlier. Some people like their supper later. You know, whatever works for your family. In my head, though, my supper time is 6 o'clock. So 4:30 or so, I'm working in the kitchen. Maybe not working hard. Sometimes I am. If I'm inspired to make some, you know, really involved dish, then fine, I'm having fun. But it's not always like that. And sometimes it really is just something simple, but I am having fun in the kitchen and taking care of things that need done with people helping me. I think it's really important for the children to be involved in meal prepping so that they understand the techniques and they understand what it takes to make food, and plus it's a fun relationship building time also. But I really encourage you to write in your recipe books, and if you're printing recipes off from the internet, you know, make a folder, or even some of these are just cards, recipe cards, like this kind of thing, cards that I've gotten from people. Some of it is, here's a whole section on chicken, and it says Wednesday. So apparently there was a time in life where Wednesdays was our chicken day, when we would have a chicken meal. And there's all these chicken recipes in this section of my folder. There's another section in here about grilling, and it's all our grill recipes. Here's a tea party day. For a lot of years we had tea parties on Thursday afternoons, and generally we had the same supper every Thursday night. Although Bridget remembers that we had Casey's Pizza Thursday night after tea party. I don't know. But anyway, so this was our tea party menu spread, and we would just set it up there on the counter, and different people would make different food for our tea party, and then we'd sit down and have a tea party. And at that same time, when we were making food for the tea party, I also was making this stew that went in the slow cooker, and that was cooking while we did our tea party and while we had our fun special time. And then we would have, later on, after chores and whatnot, we would have our simple soup supper, because it was really simple. I mean, because we really kind of would tend to eat too much tea party food. Here's a whole spread on Thai food. We love Thai food, and this is all the best recipes that I got from my sister-in-law. And that seriously is scribbled on, and even by little children. You would probably laugh at how dirty and messy this folder is. There's obviously a recipe book that fell apart, and the best recipes were saved out and shoved into page protectors. There's a section on bread recipes. Here's one, 25 dinner meals. Here's another section, quick and easy supper. Has some 15-minute and 30-minute dishes in it. I remember these recipes. I don't know what we've been making, but it's not been that. You know how time goes and you get new favorites and kind of get in a rut, and then you have to, oh yeah, we used to do this. All right, now the really interesting thing was that I found today when I was looking at this is the lunch section. There's like 5 different plans of different recipes for lunches from different periods in time. And some of them are simple ones that weren't, I told you a little bit ago that I like to have the crock pot meal in and just dump that in the morning, and then at lunch we would have the crock pot meal. Simple. There was this section in here on easy stuff that kids can make, and like quesadillas. It said something like 8-year-old quesadillas, that kind of thing, where little children could, okay, today we're having quesadillas, the 8-year-old is making it, that kind of thing. So I guess my point is it's a learning curve, and you need to figure out what recipes your family likes and make those and write on them what the prep time is and how long the cooking is, and start putting your own folder together. Seriously, this is just a cheap folder from Walmart or wherever, and page protectors. You can do it. Anyone can do it. Some of these recipes obviously come from Food Network. If you have a favorite show, Pioneer Woman, Paula Deen, Martha Stewart, those are always my favorites. Those recipes are on the the website for Food Network. In fact, I had one of my sons, when he was about 10 years old, he would get his schoolwork done, and then one of the approved channels in our house, during the day, during school time, was the Food Network. So he would watch a show. I think Bobby Flay, the Girl Master, was his favorite. But anyway, he would watch a show, learn how to make it from the show, and then he would go to the internet, print off the recipe, go to the kitchen, and make the recipe. He would have been 8, 9, 10 years old, somewhere in there. So my point is, give your kids freedom to do that, to have fun in the kitchen. And maybe that was part of what I did, in that hour and a half before the supper time when I'm making supper, is also, cleaning up behind their mess. I always encourage them to clean up their mess. If you make something, you got to clean it up. But at the same time, if you have an 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old doing that, maybe the mom needs to come along behind the cleanup and do another cleanup. You know what I'm saying? So that's all for today. If you have a question, if you have a topic that you want me to cover, send me a message and we'll get to it sooner or later. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Bye.